Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you my Scrap Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for December 2021. I've been wanting to build the Scrap deck for a good while now. This is a deck that was actually, I would say, just debuted when I came back to Yu-Gi-Oh! When Duelist Revolution came out. We didn't have as much support from that set as we do now for the deck, our most recent support being from the Lightning Overdrive booster set. But with it, we've been given enough support to really make this a pretty fun deck to use. I would say it's a machine deck, but there are a bunch of different monsters in this deck, not just machines, that you use all together for this Earth Attribute deck to get out the majority of the different synchro monsters we run for the Scrap lineup as well. Very, very happy with the results of the deck. Like I said, I wanted to go for more of a pure build than to mix it in with some of the dinosaurs or some of the other cards that people use for the deck. I just find it to be more of the fun build to use. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. We'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. Our first one being the Scrap Raptor. This was our newest addition to the Scrap deck. A really, really good card as well. You can target one monster you control, destroy it. Also, during your main phase this turn, you can normal summon one Scrap monster in addition to your normal summoner set. If this card is destroyed by the effect of a Scrap card and sent to the graveyard, you can add one Scrap Factory or one non-tuner Scrap monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Scrap Raptor once per turn. So the Scrap Factory just gives us more of a special summon setup, which is a great addition to add with this card. Or we can go for a non-tuner search to set up our synchro play, being the next monster we use, with that synchro monster being our Scrap Dragon. This card can set up that play with just itself alone, so it's a great resource to rely on, with the search target for that play being the newly reprinted from the Maximum Gold Eldorado set, and that is Scrap Chimera. It cannot be used as synchro material except for the synchro summon of a Scrap monster, and all other materials must be Scrap monsters. When this card is normal summon, you can target one Scrap tuner in your graveyard and special summon that target. So the tuner can be your Scrap Raptor, and with those two cards alone, that is your Scrap Dragon play right then and there. But also, it can be used summoning back the monster to get out your Link 2 options, whether it be your Scrap Wyvern, or if you want to go for more of a tuner search, you can go for your Halka Fibrax. It's up to you using this card for all that search power. Being more of the pure build altogether, that's also why I'm running 3 of this card. I know it limits you to your synchro plays, but it really doesn't limit you at all for your Link summon plays that you summon back onto the field. And I also run 3 Scrap Golem, more of a great setup card. If you go for the additional normal summon and you don't destroy Scrap Raptor itself, and you destroy something else in the field, you can then just tribute summon out your Scrap Raptor using it to summon out Scrap Golem, and then use your Scrap Golem's effect, which is once per turn, you can target one level 4 or lower Scrap monster in your graveyard, special sentence monster, to either player's field. That can be the summon of getting your Scrap Raptor back on the field, and then that is your play to summon out your Scrap Twin Dragon, which just needs one Scrap tuner and one non-tuner monster, and it's a true powerhouse when you can summon it out onto the field. I'm running 3 of this card, so you always have the option available to summon out. It is a pretty big powerhouse, but one you definitely will rely on, especially when you're using your Scrap Wyvern as well for the Link play. And I also run 3 Scrap Recycler. Once again, another setup option. When it's normal or special summon, you can send one machine monster from your deck to the graveyard. And once per turn, you can return 2 level 4 or lower machine type earth monsters in your graveyard to the deck to draw 1 card. So the send target you'll summon and send with this card is your Scrap Recycler. Just being able to set up more of your graveyard with a level 3 target for your other Scrap monsters to summon back onto the field as a resource is another great way to make use of this card. And that's set up in the graveyard. More of the destruction plays can also come forth with your last of the 3 ofs for the Scrap monsters, and that is Scrap Orthros. It cannot be normal summoned or set. It must first be special summoned from your hand while you control a Scrap monster. If summoned this way, target one Scrap monster you control, destroy that target. If this card is destroyed by the effect of a Scrap card and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Scrap monster in your graveyard except for Scrap Orthros and add that target to your hand. More recycle power for a good number of the different Scrap monsters that we are running, but also great just as an additional special summon onto the field. And also, if summoned this way, being able to destroy your other Scrap monsters can give you additional search powers if you don't use Raptor on itself and special summon out your Orthros. That can be a way to then search out Scrap Factory or another non-tuner Scrap monster. Just remember, if you summon out Scrap Orthros and your Scrap Raptor, you'll have to more than likely go for the Link play since they are both tuners, and you won't be able to make full use of them being tuners to go for any synchro plays. The last of the Scrap monsters we run summon in the deck is 1 Scrap Goblin. This card cannot be destroyed by battle. If this face-up defense position card is selected as an attack target, destroy this card. At the end of the battle phase, if this card is destroyed by the effect of a scrap card and sent to the graveyard, you can select 1 scrap monster in your graveyard except for a Scrap Golem and add it to your hand. This is another level 3 tuner option, so we have them available. We are limited with some of our synchro plays thanks to Scrap Chimera, but if you use Scrap Goblin with your Scrap Golem, that is another level 8 option to go into with no restrictions on the summon, giving us room for some more powerhouse synchro plays in the deck, including ones like Borreload Savage Dragon. And then lastly, for the tuner play setups in the deck, I also run 1 Plague Spreader Zombie, just another great way to set up some scrap monsters that can be special summoned from the deck to the field using Scrap Factory by placing that card on the top of the deck, giving you a special summon of Plague Spreader on the field as just an additional monster target. And you normally can summon this card out with your Crystron Halqifibrax, needing to not actually have to search it out any other way than that setup in the graveyard to use. With the last of the monsters that we use in the main deck being 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, just the hand trap of choice to shut down my opponent's plays in the deck, whether it be their graveyard setup or any of the searches they try to get from their deck to their hand. And that is it for the main deck monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Scrap Factory. This card is searchable with Scrap Raptor. It is a very, very useful and needed card in the deck. All scrap monsters gain 200 attack and defense when a face-up scrap monster on the field is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step. You can special summon 1 scrap monster from your deck. You can only use this effect of Scrap Factory once per turn. This is your go-to setup for a good number of your different plays. Depending on whatever scrap monster you need, this card can summon it out. There's no restrictions as to what it can summon out. You can even just go for the Scrap Golem, which in turn can give you another summon from your graveyard onto the field. You name it, you definitely want to run 3 of this card, so you always have that resource. That's why we're also running the 1 Terraforming, so we can search it out that much better. It's just that resource that you definitely want to rely on, having the destruction by card effects being the main play of the deck altogether and what you can rely on. I also run the 2 Scrap Storm. This is more of a target 1 scrap monster you control, send 1 scrap monster from your deck to the graveyard, then draw 1 card, then destroy that monster. It's another scrap option, but also being able to just have that more setup and draw power. I like running it. I also have the 2 Supply Squads for more draw power. The 1 card I don't have in the deck, it's more of a pricey card for people looking to build scraps, and that is Scrap Yard. It's another card that needs a reprint. We got the Chimera one recently. I'm guessing Scrap Yard will be right around the corner. If you wanted to add Scrap Yard into the deck, you can mix around your numbers of these cards. You can take out the 2 Supply Squad, the additional Scrap Storm, or even just build your numbers around these 2 cards. If you wanted to reduce numbers to add Scrap Yard, which its card effect adds a Scrap Tuner from your deck to your hand, which is definitely good since it can search out a good majority of the ones we were running in the deck altogether. And with one of our best go-to link monsters being our Scrap Wyvern with a very, very useful link arrow, I am running 3 World Legacy Succession. None of the scrap monsters aside from Scrap Raptor have a once per turn option for their effect. So as long as you have those resources to use for more and more summons from the extra deck, you can keep summoning back those monsters and reusing them thanks to World Legacy Succession. I'll go over some of the combos at the end of the video, but it's definitely needed as that play setup. So you definitely want 3 of this card as just that thing to keep extending your resources for this deck. And for more search power, I also run 3 Fossil Dig. You just add 1 level 6 or lower dinosaur type monster from your deck to your hand, which that is Scrap Raptor. Is a dinosaur. I know they all look like machines, but they all have different types depending on the type of monster they're based off of. And Scrap Raptor, being a raptor, is a dinosaur type, so you can easily search it out with Fossil Dig as that much easier of a search to use. And for some of the one-ofs for the spells, I also run 1 Foolish Burial, more graveyard setup, whether it be for Plague Spreader Zombie or Scrap Goblin, whatever one you didn't want to summon off of Crystron Halqifibrax with those cards. You can send the other one with Foolish Burial and get back onto the field that much easier. Also, 1 Reasoning, we run a bunch of different level monsters, so keep your opponent guessing with the one they might send off of this card. And lastly, the 1 Monster Reborn, just another special summon resource like World Legacy Succession, back on the field for cards for you to use. And as for the trap, the only trap I'm running in the deck is Infinite Impermanence. It's just the hand trap of choice, being able to stop my opponent's cards on their turn if they went first, since you will control no cards on your field. And having this option, very, very useful, but also great setup and shutdown for any of those columns you might try to stop your opponents as well. And that is it For the main deck, we'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 2 Scrap Twin Dragon. Once per turn, you can target 1 card you control and 2 cards your opponent controls. Destroy the one you control. And if you do, return the ones your opponent controls to their hand. If this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 non-synchro scrap monster in your graveyard and special summon it. That just gives you more resources on the field to work with. Whether you summon out another golem onto the field or another scrap raptor, you have plenty of options. And this card has 3,000 attacks, so it's definitely a boss monster you'll summon out to make full use of against your opponent. I also run 2 Scrap Dragon. The one you can also consider running is Atomic Scrap Dragon. If you wanted to run a copy of that, it's a higher level monster. You can take out one of the Scrap Dragons for that card, but this level 8 is definitely a target I always go into with Scrap Chimera. And with it, once per turn, you can target 1 card you control and 1 card your opponent controls. Destroy them. When this card is destroyed in your possession by your opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, target 1 non-synchro scrap monster in your graveyard and special summon that target. Just like your Scrap Twin Dragon, great options for recovering on your field using this card. And it doesn't limit you to what level monster you can summon out, so it's just that much easier to summon out one of your boss monsters like your Scrap Golem to get another special summon out into the field and another synchro play going. I also run the 1 Borreload Savage Dragon and the 1 Black Rose Dragon. These summons don't come up as often. The Black Rose Dragon, I even considered using Scrap Archfiend, being another scrap play to rely on, being one you can summon out with Scrap Chimera and then summoning out Goblin as that level 7 play. But Scrap Archfiend is a level 7 monster with no effect. I like Black Rose Dragon when it happens, and you can make it. It comes in handy as just being that option card to summon out. But most of the time, you'll have to rely on summoning it out with your Scrap Recycler and your Scrap Orthros, since you'd be limited to not being able to summon it out thanks to your Scrap Chimera. Same with Borreload Savage Dragon. The main way you will summon that will be with your Scrap Goblin being special summoned back thanks to your Scrap Golem. And then you'll want to summon that out when you have your Link monster taken care of already as well. The Link monsters we'll now move on to. I run 2 Scrap Wyvern. You can target 1 scrap monster in your graveyard, special summon it, then destroy 1 card you control. If another face-up scrap monster is destroyed by a card effect while you control the monster, except during the damage step, you can, while you control that monster, you can special summon 1 scrap monster from your deck, then destroy 1 card on the field. You can only use each effect of Scrap Wyvern once per turn. So having all these options available to you into a Link monster that just needs 2 monsters, including a scrap, is made for this deck altogether. Just being able to target that scrap monster and special summon it, then destroy another card, will activate the scrap plays you may have on the field with this card, and it's one of your main go-to cards, being able to do just basically what Scrap Factory can do that much quicker. Having both on the field to use makes it all the more scary. So you want to have those 2 resources readily open and available to use. I even considered a 3rd copy of this card. If you were to run a 3rd copy, I'll show you what we can take out for it in just a bit. I also run the 1 Crystron Halqifibrax. This is to special summon out either Goblin or your Plague Spreader onto the field to make use of, but also it can be the 3rd spot if you don't have Halqifibrax, going for more of a budget playstyle, to add in a 3rd Scrap Wyvern for the deck. I also run 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Barricade Board Blocker to work with the Scrap Factory or Supply Squad, 1 Underclock Taker, and 1 Mrs. Radiant. Any of these spots can also be a potential spot for a 3rd Scrap Wyvern if you were to keep the Halqifibrax into your deck for the plays. And I also run the 1 Nightmare Unicorn and the 1 Borreload Dragon, just for some higher Link play options available, since you can keep on summoning them out thanks to World Legacy Succession. It can even be Apollosa and Borrelsword if you had more of an aggressive playstyle to use against your opponent. As for some of the go-to plays we do in this deck, like I said, Scrap Raptor is one of your best cards in the deck as a whole. When it's summoned, and just being able to target 1 monster you control, destroy it. So you can destroy Scrap Raptor itself, and then either search out whatever you need. If you already have the Scrap Factory in your hand, you can activate that beforehand, and then gain the additional special summon after Scrap Raptor destroys itself. Since a card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, being able to then special summon out 1 Scrap Monster from your deck. So then you can have the additional summon of your Scrap Monster from the deck being your Scrap Golem onto the field. The Scrap Raptor, since you already have the factory, can then search out your Scrap Chimera. You can then go for the play of normal summoning with the additional normal summon thanks to your Scrap Raptor's destruction, of being able to summon out your Scrap Raptor back onto the field using it and Chimera to then go into either your Synchro or Link 2 play. You can go for the Scrap Wyvern on the field, and then you can use the additional play of your Scrap Golem Golem to summon out your Scrap Raptor back onto the field from the graveyard. You can then use the option of Scrap Wyvern to special summon your Scrap Chimera onto the field as well, and then destroy another card you control. Just remember, Scrap Raptor is a once per turn, but you can always target the Scrap Golem, destroying that card, giving you the option for that special summon thanks to Scrap Chimera back on the field. And then with that option, while you control this card, you can special summon one Scrap monster from your deck, then destroy one card on the field, being able to then summon out another of your Scrap Golems from the deck. Once again, remember, it's not a once per turn. Then destroying the Scrap Chimera, using the second Scrap Golem to target the level 4 lower Scrap monster, being your Scrap Chimera, in the graveyard back into the field. And then using the option, you can go for the level 8 Synchro play, using your Scrap Raptor and your Scrap Chimera to go into Scrap Dragon, or the Scrap Golem and your Scrap Raptor to go into Scrap Twin Dragon, all being the options available readily for you to use. Using this cards and only 2 cards that you opened up with, the Scrap Factory and the Scrap Raptor. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, I'm definitely happy I was able to finish the scrap deck, and being a pure one at that, I had a lot more fun with the play testing for it, and I hope you all enjoyed as well. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.